I'm usually not one to dwell on the past, but I'm going to have to make an exception. It's known that Fantasia is a terrible game, but after playing it again, this game reinforces why I am pro-choice. When first playing, you are greeted with music that qualifies as a gross violation of the Geneva Accords. I know when I think of brilliant composers like Bach and Tchaikovsky, that dude from Police Academy instantly comes to mind. By trying to convert classical music into a bunch of bleeps and bloops, they simply made ear rape. I shit nicer music than this. We play as Mickey, the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Safe to say, he is the reincarnation of the Yugo. The first thing you're going to notice when playing are the sluggish controls and the absolutely hackneyed jumping mechanics that have Mickey doing his best Neil Armstrong impression. Watching him float and take his sweet-ass time to land is the equivalent of waiting for Armake's movie to come out. Okay, that was an exaggeration. But what I can't stand is the fact that the programmers decided to make a small delay whenever you press jump or land. I understand that they were probably trying to make it realistic, but the problem is because of the brilliant decision to have enemies pretty much come out of the background, you'll be taking a shit ton of unnecessary hits just because Mickey decided to pull Operation Shutdown. What's worse is that every time you take a hit, you get the fail horn. The game is literally facepalming you for sucking at it. To combat the zombie-like horde of enemies, Mickey gets these magic spells to use. All neat and dandy, except for the fact that the refills for these spells are few and far between. Since a large spell takes 3 bars to execute, there's little point of using it, especially since Mickey stops in midair for a bit before his attack, increasing your chances of missing. So, what else have you got? Jumping on the enemies. I made a rant about how getting damage when jumping on the enemies was utter bullshit, and it is. But after endless bitching from Sayers of Truth, you have to hold the D-pad down while jumping to attack them. Isn't this totally redundant? We never had to do this in Mario, Sonic, hell, any run-of-the-mill platformer, so why do we have to experience Windows Vista? Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, but Castle of Illusion! Okay, the jumping on enemies was tolerable in that game. But guess what? Castle of Illusion didn't have floaty jumping mechanics. Castle of Illusion didn't have a scarce supply of projectiles. Castle of Illusion didn't have enemies popping out of every orifice. Castle of Illusion didn't have music that rivaled the Jonas Brothers. In other words, Castle of Illusion was, you know, good. But it doesn't even end there. You get to experience the joys of erratically moving platforms. Look at these. Do you honestly think a kid's going to have the patience to master these things? The Dalai Lama would devolve into nerd rage if he played this. Back on topic. The goal of this game is to collect these magic notes that were stolen by the evil Chernobog, so the orchestra can continue to butcher classical music. I wasn't expecting to be handed these notes, but god damn, they hid these things! Most of the time, you'll barely see them where they're hidden from view, so you'll be perplexed as to where these things are. Did you know that there's a note behind this coral, which you have to take damage from in order to make visible? Or on this platform, hidden by foreground? Or by pressing on this moving platform? Or this dinosaur egg? Or this freaking orb? And the best one, getting to this note by feeling your way around invisible barriers and more enemies. This is supposed to be a kid's game, right? Granted, they refill your health and give you an extra life, but you'll be so harried by the lobotomized controls that you'll lose any bonus from these things faster than you could say plagiarism. If you collect a sufficient amount of these things, you go on to the next level. But what happens if you don't collect enough notes? I'll tell you what. You get to start the level all over again! Jesus Christ, it's a labyrinth, except the Minotaur's teabagging you mercilessly! To emphasize this fact, just step into one of these bonus rooms. A correlation between this and slowly losing the will to live is imminent. In these swimming stages, the controls make punching puppies more desirable. Unlike certain other games where you have to tap a button to quickly ascend, Fantasia makes you hold down the C button just so Mickey can take his sweet-ass time to ascend and vice versa. Not only this, but every time you try to turn, Mickey falls a short distance before he does, which makes you want to take a desert eagle to said mouse's head. And if you haven't noticed by now, every generic enemy in this area is out to kill him. Amplify this by cramming so many enemies on the screen that the Japanese subway system would blush. Now, this isn't too much of a problem. Oh, wait! You can't jump on the enemies underwater, so you're stuck using whatever you've got left of your magic spells. Or, most likely, trying to emulate Barry Sanders and juke our cold-blooded adversaries out. Good Lord, Michael Phelps couldn't swim past this! And quick question. If Mickey takes damage from touching water on the surface, how can he swim in it? If you thought this was contradictory, let's go further down into the rabbit hole. This treasure chest takes you back to an earlier point in the level, so you must jump over it to advance. Or how about the go through one Chinese water torture stage, get one free experience? What about this bonus stage, where the huge foreground and jumping problems are emphasized while you dodge enemies that you sometimes can't even see? And it only gets worse. This stage has you dodging the fucking cosmos for a few health points, if you're lucky to even get that far. And this stage has you in a constant state of freefall, where hordes of enemies are waiting to feast upon mouse meat. Not to say that the levels are salvation either. Look at level 3. It's a jumping stage. Let me repeat that for you. A jumping stage in a game where the jumping is utter dog shit. Remember to factor in that there are copious amounts of enemies where you cannot attack above, and you're looking at one great little mindfuck of a level. It's got the fun factor of a kidney stone, and is twice as painful. But guess what can make this worse? Yes, it's another bonus stage. The Dance of the Hours. Oh my god, what a train wreck. First off, it's yet another jumping stage, a first-hand experience of Gitmo while listening to infernal caterwauling that makes Dance of the Hours sound like it's been Andy Warhol. You're supposed to take these bubbles up to the top, but the jumping is so god-awful that you'll be struggling to stay on the platforms. As this happens, the bubbles float away, and you'll have to wait for more bubbles to appear. These bubbles can't save you from taking damage from projectiles and enemies either, so you can't touch anything lest you get an initiation at the county jail. You have to evade ostriches and Queen Latifah to get to the top, and as you're going up, you can't see anything, so you'll sometimes run into the enemies when you're in the bubble. And by this time, you're probably out of magic spells, so in some instances you'll have to take damage in order to advance. If you're lucky, that is. When you die, there are no checkpoints either, so you're going to fall all the way back down, and climb back up, and please someone gouge my virgin eyes out with a toothpick, you goddamn p***! You'd think there'd be mercy for us poor souls who have survived this far, but this game isn't finished waterboarding you. Say hi to Bog Mountain, another genius invention by Alberto Gonzalez. It's pretty much the same as the other levels, but the enemies are even harder to kill, and you now get to experience the wonders of invisible platforming. It's even worse than level 3, but that's pretty much an epileptic learning that he has gangrene. If you actually manage to survive this far, you can see the promised land. Chernobog. Oh, fuck, yes. Finally, this game can reward me with an epic battle for the troubles it caused me. Bring it on, you! Ah! Excuse me for a second. Utter faggotry. Mickey shaking hands with the conductor. My heart got shattered to 15% just so I could see this. Mickey doesn't deserve to wipe Leopold Stokowski's ass after this treachery. This game hyped you up so much for the end. You're on Chernobog's hand, for Christ's sake! But we got Daikatana, and Infogrames made us their bitch. This game is as endearing to Disney's heritage as Walt's cancerous lung. If you were alive to see this game, he would have branded Mickey as a communist and banished him to Siberia for his faggotry. But the worst part about this game is that this could have been good. It had great graphics for its time, it had some interesting levels, and stayed fiercely loyal to the movie. Unfortunately, Sega saw green and rushed it out the door for a few extra sales. The developer admitted the game needed at least 2 more months' development to, surprise, tweak game mechanics. However, Sega redeemed themselves in World of Illusion, which is pretty much what Fantasia should have been. Thanks to being an utter rush job, however, Fantasia is a moment of great trauma in between the Panic of 1873 and Chris Chan's sex tape. Now, if you'll excuse me, I feel the need to puke on Steamboat Willie.